All right, first up on the show is Jennifer Cavazos, the expert of for providing camp programs for children. I can't talk right now with cancer and their families, and the executive director at Discovery Camp. So, Jennifer, I'm excited to have you here. We did get a little bit onto the foundational side of what happened here. So, I know you've got different camp programs on. Can you quickly go over those and tell me what they are?
Certainly. Our flagship program, like I started talking about Camp Discovery, that's our flagship program. It's a week-long residential camp for the campers themselves. It's in July every year, 1 week long. Then we have 9 total programs, but I'll just tell you about the big 3 or 4. So Camp Discovery is our flagship program. Our next biggest program is Camp Bravehearts, which is we bring camp into the children's hospitals in San Antonio. And it was, that one was started by one of our Camp Discovery campers who expressed to Joey that she missed camp one year because she got real sick and had to go in the hospital right before camp. And he took her all of her camp gear and backpack and T-shirt and all that stuff the week after camp. And she said, well, you just need to have camp in the hospital for kids who are too sick. And so he got on it, and within a year, we had started Camp Bravehearts, and now we hold 12 sessions a year at the 3 children's hospitals in San Antonio, at Christus Children's, Methodist Children's Hospital, and University Hospital. And we have 4 sessions at each hospital, pretty much once a month, when we have one coming up in a couple weeks. But we take elements of a summer camp into the hospital. It gives the kids a chance to get out of their rooms and to just be a kid.
Start a campfire, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a little one that's flames, and it's cool. And we've got a tent and fishing and arts and crafts and music and all sorts of stuff. But then our other bigger programs we have Family Camp, which is a weekend camp for the child with cancer and their entire family. And then another very special camp that we have is Camp Firefly, which is our weekend camp for families who have lost a child to cancer. And that one is just that. They're all very near and dear to my heart, but that one is extra special because it just gives those families a place where they can come and have a safe space to tell their story and just to be real about what happened in their lives and to connect with other families who have gone through the same type of ordeal that they have. Because as they have told us that, when your kid's in the hospital, you've got social workers, you've got child life specialists, you got nurses, you got doctors, you have all the support services, but then your child dies, and that just all goes away.
Is there a lot of grieving as a community in that type of thing, or what's the vibe there at Camp Firefly?
I mean, it's very similar to program-wise as our regular family camp, but it's just hearing the families come together and just hearing them talk to one another. It's not heavy, we don't have like therapy sessions or anything, but we do have optional sessions where the parents can come and just talk about their story and what happened. And then another parent will say, oh, that happened to my kid too, and here's what we did. And we started doing Camp Firefly in 2017, and we have families that have come every single year because they've built such a community there with other families who have gone through the same type of really just
Are they paying for that, or is it funded?
No. Every one of our programs is provided at no cost to the children or their families. And so that's why we rely 100% on contributions from the community and foundations and businesses and things like that. So the families pay not a penny for any of our programs.
Yeah. And this past Saturday, Jennifer and I were at a fundraiser, and the organization raised money for us. And we have several organizations that will raise money. And then in addition to that, we don't just rest on our laurels. We made an art piece, a painting, with the kids at Camp Discovery last summer that sold for $10,000 this past Saturday night. And that money goes to help fund future campers.
So raising money is a full-time job, I would think, right?
I've become quite the grant writer, and
wow, that's pretty impressive.
And you would think that all nonprofits have a compelling story. They're all different, and you would think that people would fall all over themselves to give. But sometimes, you something happens in your life, and then that triggers, maybe I do need to support an organization. And unfortunately, it's almost like you care about it, but it's not on your radar until something happens in your family or with a close loved one, and then things change. Then all of a sudden then you're like, okay, what can I do? Really do something impactful and meaningful. And what I tell entrepreneurs, we are talking business, is if you're in your 20s and 30s and just starting a business, get started with philanthropy right away. Because if you keep saying, well, when I get older, when I get gray hair like Marc, when I become, successful in my business, then I'm going to start giving. Chances are you might do that, but you're not. You're going to miss a big opportunity to have a meaningful life early on and really advance not only a nonprofit cause, but also improve your business by connecting with people at a whole different level.
Right.
So what kind of stuff you got going on now? As far as, fundraising and your outreach efforts?
I have a whole calendar for the year for grant writing because they're all due at different times of the year. And so every month I got to do these grant applications this month. And then we have, like Howie said, we have several really generous people who have come alongside us that put on fundraisers for us. Like the one we went to this weekend, we have a couple of different people that put on golf tournaments for us.
Discovery Camps doesn't do its own gala or event.
No,
We've done a couple of heroes lunches to honor some of the big donors. Right. But it's not necessarily a fundraiser. The board decided that, we rather promote ourselves through others and tell the story, which we've done a very good job of doing, and so we just continue to do that, and people connect. They connect and they give.
We even have like campers. We've had campers that they do a fundraiser at their school during September, which is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Or we have another one of our campers who just graduated this last summer. She's in the DECA program at her high school, which is, I can't remember what that's, what the acronym stands for, but
I barely got through
it's
school,
business. So. It's like training them in business, people who are interested in going into business once they are out of school. But she, at her school, she's doing a project, and she's going to do a fundraiser for us. I'm not sure what it's all going to look like, but so we have campers.
And it's important to note that a lot of the counselors are either board members or past campers.
We're very, very proud of the fact that we've been in existence since 1984, and since we took over from the American Cancer Society in 2013. When they decided, nationwide, the ACS decided they weren't going to do camp programs anymore. They were going to focus more on research and other things. But so that's when our nonprofit took over in 2013. Since we've been keeping track for the last 10 years, every single year, over 50% of our volunteers are former campers who they've experienced what camp offers them firsthand, and now they're old enough to volunteer, and they want to come back and give back what they received when they were campers. And so it's
very unique. It's not found. You guys have been to these national or camp, what is it?
Conferences.
Conferences, of oncology camps in North America. And we're proud to say we're always held up high on a pedestal from not only from that turnaround and raising money and expanding programming, but also in that participation from past cancer survivors that were campers that come back and become counselors and things like that.
This past summer, 56% of our volunteers were former campers, and overall around, I think it was 69 or 70% of our volunteers are cancer survivors. Not all of them were children when they had cancer, but so that does so much when you're 7 years old and it's your first time away from mom and you're sick and you're at camp. But 3 of your 4 counselors in your cabin that you used to come to camp, and what was it like when you were here? And
so they can relate really well.
And it also provides an incredible amount of hope for these kids when they, because
they see adults that have made it.
It's scary. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, even if I go into remission, I know my friend who was at camp last summer is not at camp this summer because they had a relapse and they passed away. And so that's always in the back of their mind, and it's always, whether even if they're in remission, they don't know if they're gonna have effects throughout their lives from this cancer. So seeing their counselors who have made it past that and are adults and have a productive life, and it's like, I can do that. That gives me hope. That gives them a tremendous amount of hope.
Share with Marc just briefly. I know it's a private ceremony, but what happens at camp? Because you mentioned there are some kids that
the remembrance
relapse
ceremony?
and then they pass away and then they're not at camp. And sometimes the kids don't find out until they're
Right.
at camp.
Yes.
Okay? And
Which-
so I've been to the camp at summer camp, and a couple of times I've experienced what Jennifer's going to talk about. And you talk about why do people connect? Listen to what Jennifer's going to tell you about this.
Every Tuesday during the week of camp, we have a remembrance ceremony, and it's not required. If the kids don't want to go to it, they can stay in their cabin. But probably at least 75% of the campers go to the remembrance ceremony, and it's just a time to remember the campers who sometimes they were at camp the year before. Sometimes it's been years since they were there. But if they're a former camper or staff member that has passed away during the year, we have a special time to remember them, and kids have and staff have a chance to talk about their memories of that person, and then we do a balloon release at the end of the remembrance ceremony.
Write notes, sing songs,
and and that is very difficult because a lot of times, sometimes the kids don't know that what happened to their friend. I don't know if they, if their family's on vacation this week and they're just not able to come to camp, or did something happen to them. So sometimes they don't know before they get to camp. And that's just, it's always really emotional and hard. And then we have carnival that night to help lighten the mood.
I was going to say, I had a quick story to lighten the mood a little bit, but I even got a little choked up thinking about that because I've been at those ceremonies and it's like, very tough to get through. So my kids, since I've been on the board or volunteering since before this board took over, when I was with the American Cancer Society as a volunteer, but then I got on the board early. And so my kids all went to donor day with me on the Thursday of camp. And so they'd always go to camp and they'd see the kids and play around with the kids and know that the kids have cancer. And we talked about it on the way up to Kerrville, on the way back, on the way to Morgan's Wonderland camp, whatever. So we always talked about it. So the first year that I was taking them, I put them into camp at Camp Young Judea in Wimberley, totally different camp. So I signed them up and I said, hey, you guys are going to camp for the summer. So we were driving up there. And Nikki, who's now 15, then was 8, and she asked me, she goes, do I have cancer? And I said, no. She goes, then why am I going to camp?
That was the only kind of camp there is?
I go, it's a different camp. Wow. I didn't explain, but so you're right. When kids, they get stuff in their head and they have no idea, and they don't know how to process these things.
Right.
Wow. I would hope you wouldn't tell your kid that way. That
Right.
would be weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're out of time on that segment. But Jennifer, if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can contact me directly. If they want to just check out our organization, our website is www.discoverycamps.org. Our social media is Discovery Camps.
Yeah, at Discovery Camps.
At Discovery Camps TX, I think.
Yeah, TX, right.
And Instagram is just at Discovery Camps.
Awesome.
And people can get plugged in how? What do we need?
First and foremost, monetary donations. Just like I said, none of our programs cost anything to the families. But if you have a business that you think that you want to do a fundraiser at your business for us, or you think that your business has something that would be fantastic where you could plug into us or donate something that we might need for camp, please contact me. And just we love getting the community more involved.
Right. Party City, for a few years now, the month of October gives us a percentage of their sales.
Yes.
And
go buy your Halloween costumes at Party City.
Yeah,
and
so there's
donate to camp.
things like that,
South Texas Blood and Tissue Center raised over $50,000 for us this year.
Yeah.
And
T-Bone and at Hope Hits Harder raised $70,000, I think. So fund a camper and let us sell the RPs there. So there's a lot of ways to plug in. The Schneider family does their golf tournament, and they do it in memory of their son, passed away from cancer, and they do a golf tournament every year and raise tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
certainly.
How much does it cost to send a kid to camp?
It costs. It depends on how you break down the numbers, but probably around $2,000
$2,000 for a week
for
of
a week.
camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is considerably less than what it costs to send a kid to camp. Now, sometimes camp is a little longer to go to a regular camp.
Sure.
But you have to imagine, we're very efficient with the use of our money. But two, we have oncology nurses, docs.
Yes.
I mean, and a lot of them, they're all volunteers.
Oh yeah, we have doctors and nurses. I mean, we have a full infirmary full of healthcare professionals that volunteer, take off a week from work and volunteer to come take care of these kids
Yeah.
while they're.
And there is a donor day, so you guys can come out to camp.
If you've donated at least $5,000 or $5,000 worth of whatever,
Right.
then you get your name on the camp T-shirt and you're invited to come to donor day during the week of camp to come see the kids in action and see what it's all about. So
All right. Well, thank you, Jennifer. I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks for giving me a chance to tell my story.
You bet. Good one, too.